I've seen a lot. Amid the celebrity allure of entrepreneurship, many exceptional entrepreneurs remain shadowed. Here, I team up with these hidden talents to unveil their challenges and successes. Dive in with me to unearth entrepreneurial gems, learn from our experiences, and get educated. Beyond the thought of disconnecting through whatever it is, alcohol, drugs, whatever, social media, it doesn't have to be like something that alters your state. It could be social media that alters your state. But beyond that, what other, because you talked about working out, but that the triggers of knowing, hey, well, like I'm moving into a stress state, or I'm getting to the max limit, that I'm at a 9 out of 10, or I'm at an 8, or I'm, whatever it is. What are some of the, because I do believe that there's, there are some strategies and tactics, like it's like things have to be, you had talked about it really early in the podcast about, getting rid of bad behaviors and bad habits, and changing them. But it's like, so inside you start moving towards a stress state. What are some of the rituals? I'll use the word rituals maybe that you use to go, okay, how do I, and that you might recommend or that you've found that have been powerful for you as a woman in business, and just, you've gone, we haven't even talked about, like, it wasn't just your brother that died. You also had a sister that died. Right. And so like you've lived in, like you've overcome some crazy things, and yet you still appear and show up as this powerful, young, intelligent, well thought out person and a woman. And it's like, I'm curious from that perspective, what would you share? Yeah. In terms of like when you start to feel like you're getting to your max, or and look, maybe you had a strategy that didn't work so much and you had to optimize it over the years. And like, I'm curious that journey piece, because that to me is where people, that's the Achilles heel. Right. That's where they blow up, ruin relationships, create bad strategies, end up, being life is controlling them and they're not controlling or influencing life on their terms, so they stay in a bad relationship, whatever right. It looks like.
For me, I know, like, that's why I keep trying all these different modalities and these different types of therapies, because when I know that I'm at my capacity, I know that there's something I need to do in order to discharge or to bring myself back to myself. It's really just coming home to myself, right? I get like a little bit lost in the world and the chaos and work a lot of times. I just overwork myself. And then I'm like, okay, I need to like come back. That's a lot of times when that's where I recognize when I'm starting to kind of peak, is when I'm just giving too much of myself to other people. So typically for me, it's, what modality do I need right now? Do I need to go see someone for breath work? Do I need to go, do I just need a really good massage? Do I need a day in nature? Do I need to go to the spa for a day and just recharge, right? Do I need to hang out, honestly, with my girlfriends and just drink a couple glasses of wine and laugh and just bring myself back to myself? I understand I talk about like habits and those things, but I think there's a time and a place, because there's something so beautiful in like just being with your friends and that energy, right? Even that in itself, sometimes I just need to bring myself back. And and there's
of
course, no.
Like, we're going to pitch back a couple of drinks after the show, so over dinner. So,
but it's the intention piece, right? It's not, I'm drinking to hide myself from myself. It's like, I'm having some drinks to celebrate the friendship and the love in this space and the bringing of like energy back into my being. Plant medicine has taught me so much. I'm not going to lie. That's a big one for me. And it's not a big one as in I do it a lot, but I know when I'm ready to go in. And that's why I think it's beautiful that there's so many modalities out there. And that's why I love sharing everything that I do, because not everything is for everyone, that's for sure. But I think there's something for everyone. But unless you're willing to go out and actually try it, you're never going to find out what works for you and how it works for you. So for me, I know when it's time for a psilocybin journey. I know when it's time for a microdose and go to yoga and just be one with myself and have an afternoon to myself. Like that once a month for me is a game changer now. Yeah, it's
Really?
beautiful. I tried it one day and I'm like, I am namaste right now. Like it was incredible the first time I did it. And where it just like it brought me so into my body. And I think we've had this conversation before where I said to you, like, I'm working on getting more into the feminine side of my being, because with work, I find I'm always so do, which is the very masculine part of my being. So yoga brings me into my feminine, and the medicine brings me into myself. So I'm like, what if I marry the two together? What's going to happen? And it was awesome. So it's things like that. But I had to try it one time to figure it out, and it was great.
That's awesome. I mean, listen, you took the cap off the bottle. So let's, as they would say, but let's chat about it. Cause let's drink it down. I've done plant medicine. I've done ayahuasca. I've done psilocybin journeys. I think they're unbelievably powerful. I would probably say that the ayahuasca journey I've done it a couple times, more than a couple. But I would say it's profoundly the largest impact that I have had on being able to shift myself to another level of consciousness, and also understanding the strategies that I would execute that might serve me, but didn't serve others. Like my controlling, for those of you guys who don't know anything about plant medicine, ayahuasca is a plant that allows you to journey through psychedelic kind of process, but it's very healing. It's not like, you're not chomping back a bunch of mushrooms and watching trees grow and going, holy fuck, there's pink elephants. Like, whoa. It's very, and it's guided, right? It's like, I've never done, I'm not a big drug guy. It's not been my thing. I never really, smoked weed and stuff like that. It's not I don't have anything against it. I don't judge people who do it. It's just, for me, doesn't really kind of, get my boots flared up. I don't mind a few drinks and stuff like that. But the ayahuasca and the psilocybin journeys, like guided, meditated, share, please.
The thing I really love about it is the intention. Like when we're, drugs and partying, like a lot of these drugs that people are taking, you can use them in a very healing way. It's the intention behind it, right? So I think that just the whole fact that you're going inward with the medicine to focus on yourself is already such a beautiful thing. Like to say, I'm going to take this time to explore myself with the medicine, right? That's the difference I find with breathwork and medicine. It's like breathwork, yeah, you're taking yourself on an inward journey, but it's just you and your breath. So every message you get is from you to you, versus when you're in the medicine, it's like the medicine's going to start to bring some things out of you, and it's going to decide when we're ready to go back, and it's going to decide where this is going to go. Sometimes it's going to go dark. Sometimes it's going to go light. You don't have much of a choice. It's taking you for a ride, but it's also showing you what you're not looking at. And I think that that's so incredibly powerful. And does it take courage to go in because of that? Yes. And most people, they don't want to know the truth. They don't want to know what they're not looking at. And that's why we're masking so many things all the time, or why we're fluffing around and making other people's problems our problems, because I don't want to deal with my own problems, right? When you're in the medicine, it's like, well, here it comes. Like, you don't have a choice.
You have no choice.
You're in.
One way or the other. Yeah.
And maybe that's why I say I'm a sucker for pain, because I'm like, I'm willing to go there. But again, I know what comes from it. And like I mentioned at the beginning, that story with my brother really brought me into my spirituality. When I've been in medicine, it has made me feel so connected to him in so many ways, and many, many times. Even breathwork has brought me to him. I get these messages from him, and it's beautiful. It almost makes me feel closer to him. And I know a lot of people are scared to go in because of someone they've lost, because they're afraid that that's going to come out. But it's like, why? Even if the grief comes out, let it come out. Grief is like celebrating that person, really, when you're allowing it to move through you, right? They say grief is like love that has nowhere to go. You can't pour it back into that person, right? So it's like, okay, let me feel it. Let me move through this, because this person wants to be celebrated through my system. So let me do that.
I think to that point, there's a couple things I'll just say based on your comments where there was one. I think staying in grief makes it about you, not about the other person, because you're staying in it, and it's making you feel significant because of your pain, your shame, your anger, whatever that is. The second thing that I kind of was going to say was on the breathwork side, which I think is really amazing, is even the breathwork. Like, we did a breathwork session before we did the podcast. It was like, oh, you're coming up? Okay, great. Let's do some more breathwork. This is going to be awesome. And so, and I was super, super grateful for it. But like, there was a couple of times where I had, visions, where I got above myself. I was out of my body for sure. And there was a couple of times where, like, I can remember, and, you were facilitating it, but I kind of had my hand on my heart, and my hand
saw
was
that.
up
It was
in the
beautiful.
air like this. So it was, I was out of my body at that point. And it's, I honestly, I would say I've never actually thought about it until this conversation, but there's a lot of people who are like, well, I'm not going to do like drugs. Like, I'm not going to, like, that's not safe. It's not this, it's not that. And look, you got to know who you're doing it with.
Yes.
I do believe that.
Setting is extremely important.
100%. And we were really, really careful about that. But I do believe that, breath work, and it's a stacking event too. So, just because you go once doesn't mean like, first time, I don't want to say user, but the first time you experience the process of breath work, you can feel a little stuck. You can feel a little awkward. You can feel a little like angst inside the process. And did I really get what I needed? But as you stack on it, it really kind of elevates in the experience. And so my point was that I believe it's a great lead in, or a great opening to experiencing yourself in a altered state. That was my point.
I couldn't agree.
Super wordy about.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's a beautiful entry into, surrendering into yourself. Because if you don't surrender into the medicine when you're in medicine, good luck. That's when it's going to be hard, right? People are like, oh, I had a bad trip, I had a bad journey. Did you? Or did you just, number one, not give up control? Or did you see things you didn't want to see and you didn't like it? You don't like the truth. That's what it is. It wasn't bad. Now, I think there can be some bad because there can be people working with medicine that are in it for the wrong reasons, that are facilitating for the wrong reasons, and innocent people are getting more traumatized by that. I've had an experience like that, and it was very, very scary. So that's where setting is extremely important. But the intention of like going inward with the medicine, like you're gonna see some stuff, and you need to be open to what you're gonna receive. With breathwork, it's beautiful because there's the barrier to entry is a lot lower. You can speed it up. You have your foot on the gas. You can slow it down. You can open your eyes, and the journey ends. Right? With the medicine, that's absolutely not what happens.
It's like somebody pushed you in the car, and you're along for the ride, and you don't stop until it's out of gas.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
there was something you said, and it was really, really beautiful, where you said, I felt like I was outside of my body, right? Like it literally brought you outside of yourself. And that just actually sparked something in me that I'd never thought about, but I've been getting very into what is the soul. Like that has been a huge thing in my life for the last 3-4 weeks, especially with the spinal energetics and this book that I'm reading. It's really gotten me curious as to like, what really is your soul? And when you said you were like outside of your body, in this book, it really made me think about the soul is this beautiful essence of who we are. There's so much depth to our soul. There's so much capacity to our soul. Our physical body is just a vessel for our soul. And we have different lifetimes. The soul has different lifetimes. And I feel like plant medicine has helped me to understand that there's like other lifetimes inside of me. There's ancestral stuff inside of me. When I went through ayahuasca, there was so much ancestral information, trauma, pain that came through me. And I was like, whoa. So that's another thing that's brought me so deep into my spirituality is the medicine, because it's like, it's brought this knowingness that is there. You can't see it. You can't describe it to somebody else. You just know. Right. Mm-hmm. And so when I think about the soul, I've been really like, I don't know why, it's just been such a big part of my thought process over the last little while. And, you know, the soul, there's like pieces of our soul that are unhealed. And that is actually what makes up our personality and our character and who we actually are in this lifetime. And we have to be that person, because that's how we're going to heal those parts of our soul. Our higher self is also our soul. It's like another capacity of our soul, but our full essence of who we are, and like the massive aura of this soul is many different people over many lifetimes. This is just the one we're living in now. And so to be in this physical body and living in this lifetime, it's like we have to go through all of these painful things, and we have to go through all these experiences to fix this part of our soul. And so when we go into the medicine and we go into breathwork and we do these things to dive into ourselves, that's how we start to learn and fulfill what we're supposed to fill in this lifetime. And that's how we're supposed to serve. And this is the dharma in our life that we're supposed to move through. And then, you know, we have this karmic path, which is all the pain that's happening and all the things that we're doing that are teaching us. So it's like when we go inward and we sit with ourselves and we do these things to get to know thyself, it's really just to continue to heal the soul and then heal the collective and grow our consciousness and our awareness. And that's why I think coming back to like, okay, who am I and what do I want and what am I supposed to do in this lifetime? Not what is everybody else expecting me to do and wanting me to do and telling me to do. What do I want? That's like, oh, that's you living you. And that's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it's like all this judgment, all these things that other people are doing to us, right? Because we're triggering them. It's not even us doing anything. They're just feeling triggered by what we're doing. And it's like the more that I've dove into personal development and into growth, I'll get triggered now. And it's like, ooh, I'm less like reactive as to like, well, that person's an asshole. I'm just like, no, wait a second. Why is that triggering me so much? Why is that bothering me? And the reason it's bothering me is because there's a part of that in me. So what do I need to look at right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've said this a few times on the podcast, but I have one note it's not on my desk right now because my desk was packed all up, but it is usually on my desk, and it's in red writing on a cue card, and it says that which you resist most in others is what you have yet to accept in yourself. Mm-hmm. And to your point, like I'm literally just staring at you, and I think you were looking at me like, does he like what I'm saying or doesn't he?
Did he leave the room for a second? What's going on? literally, I'm Did I speak Spanish?
I'm hanging off of every word because I love what you're saying. And what's the book that you were reading?
It's called Seat of the Soul.
Seat of the Soul.
Seat of the Soul. Yeah. And it's a bit dense and it's really challenging my capacity of what I believe and understand. And that's another reason why I love it, because it's growth. Right. Seriously. Right. Yanni, stretching me.
Yeah. I just want to point out a few things here and then draw it back because somebody listening to this podcast could be like, what does this have to do with business? So I will draw the context back, but, and there'll be some people who just be like, like I dig the conversation. But first of all, I commend you for your journey of self-reflection and growth. And I also commend you for not being one who relies on something like plant medicine, right? that you know, have done a collection of a whole bunch of other things. And so, you know, those can't be forgotten in this conversation, because, you know, the sitting in silence, you know, the reading, the self-reflection, all the practical, like, you don't do breath work because it's a good business strategy. You do breath work because you believe in your ability to impact others and create change for people. And so, like, I just want to commend you for all of the processes that you've engaged in over time to grow yourself, but also to, I would say, heal your own trauma. And trauma's maybe an over-exaggerated term, because trauma could be just having fucking parents that were hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, your parents will, like, what do they always say? It's like, you know, use your parents' inheritance to go to a psychiatrist to fix all the problems that they passed down on you. Right? It's like, look, that's just the way it is. Or the bad marriage, or the bad boyfriend, or the, you know, relationships that you've been in, or the shit you did in high school, or, you know, the fact that you know, bullied somebody and you feel bad about it. Like, that's all, you know, levels of trauma. I will just take a moment to just draw this back to the business purpose. And I'll reflect on a conversation that I had recently with Dr. Tim Reynolds on a podcast that we launched a few weeks ago. And so I would encourage people to go back. I'm not self-promoting the podcast, but the guy's super smart. And he one of the things he said in the podcast was, if there's a block in your business, it's likely not the business, it's you. And really, a lot of what we're talking about here today is about unblocking ourselves, unblocking our mindset, unblocking, you know, the pain or the things that are holding you back that you're struggling with. And so as a vehicle for being, you know, if you wanted to turn this into a self-serving process versus an altruistic type of growth kind of tool, it's I forget the philosopher, it'll come to me, Confucius, I think it was Confucius, know thyself. Yeah. You know, and this is all part of a process of knowing thyself. And if, you know, the better you know yourself, the better you're going to be able to connect to your customer, or connect to your staff, your employees, your partners, your people that are working with you, all the stakeholders in your life. This is like super powerful stuff.
Well, your business is just a reflection of yourself. It's an extension of yourself, right? Everything absolutely. You create is an extension of you. And are you extending that part of you with love or with hate? Are you going into yourself to figure out, like, okay, is this the integrity I want to have showing up in my business? Is this how I want to support people? Is this how I want to help people? I think there's a really easy way to feel the energy of someone that is doing something from a place of love versus a place of scarcity versus a place of greed. Like, it comes through in your business. And if you are operating from a place of scarcity or fear in your business, that comes through. And you hit the nail on the head. It's just like, you can tell when things, like, the block is not in the business, the block is probably in you, and it's coming out in your business. It's just, your business is a reflection of you. Just like people are reflections of us, right? Energy. It's all energy. If I bring great energy into a conversation, chances are your energy is going to start rising up if it wasn't there before. Or if we both have great energy, perfect. We're going to merge and make this beautiful, energetic aura that comes from around us, right?
And you make magic happen in conversations that, you know, wouldn't alternatively happen to occur. And you're like, holy shit, that was an unbelievable conversation. It's like, you know, because
and if you live in this dull energy, of course you're going to keep getting dull energy. That's what people are going to keep giving you, right? If you're going to be a jackass to people, probably people are going to be a jackass right back to you. It's just an energetic exchange. So it's like, if you can continue to evolve this being that you are, and everything that extends from you, including your business, including your relationships, including your conversations, including how you show love, how you communicate, all of it, right? Then everything else is going to reflect that back to you as well. Because you're consistently creating your own version of this world and the existence of everything that's around you. Like it's just a reflection of what you think, and what you're putting out there is what you're getting back.
You said at the very beginning of the conversation of the podcast that your boyfriend one time said to you, "Why are you being such a why are you such a bitch, or why do you have such a chip on your shoulder?"
That was bang on.
But and look, we've covered a lot of the stuff. I know we've covered a lot of the things, that had guided you through, but would there be some other things, just to your point here about, if you're showing up, not as your best self, and sometimes you're not aware of it. Like sometimes you're just, sometimes people are fucking bitchy. Or they have a chip on their shoulder, or they're angry about something. They don't even know they're angry about it, and they don't even know they show up that way. And then, but is there anything else you'd add to the conversation about people who are in that spot? About how you shift, I don't know if the word's mindset, attitude, behavior.
Right. Well, first off, like, do you want to be aware of it? Do you care to do anything to change the state for yourself or for anyone else? You can do things for yourself. You can do things for others. And I think it's more important to do things for yourself that make you happy. And then in turn, that will be doing things for others anyways. Everything I do because I love it. And that makes, that helps other people, right? But there's people that know that there's an issue, but they don't want to face it. And so they just choose to stay unaware, or they choose to ignore it. They choose to turn a blind eye, right? Deep down, they know what they're doing is not right, whether it's for themselves. Let's say it's like alcoholism or drugs or whatever it is. It's like deep down, we know that's not right. I knew for a long time that wasn't right, but I continued to do it because I just didn't want to face it. I didn't want to face the truth. And then that's why I just stayed in like, okay, I'm just going to continue doing this job because it pays me a lot of money, and I'm not going to, step into the discomfort of starting my own business and being this kind of person, because that means I need to give this up and I need to face that and all this other stuff. So I think a lot of people, they don't want to go through that. And so they choose to stay unaware. I think there's some that just have zero awareness of like the space in general. Like, I think that's a thing. And then there's people that have the awareness and that know that what they're doing is not right, but they continue to do it and hurt other people. And that's where I think the biggest issue is. It's like, if you're doing it and you're just hurting yourself, that's one thing. But if you're choosing to be, if you know there's an awareness there, and then you're still continuing to drag other people along and hurt other people in the process, I think that's a problem.
I agree 100%. Along your journey, for the group of people who don't have the awareness, I mean, everybody should be aware. So again, I only bring this up because it was timely. But last night, in my coaching conversation, I said to the person, when things are up, when I'm up against it, the assumption I make is that all the decisions that I'm making, all the thinking that I'm currently executing is flawed, because I'm in a hyper, either negative state or struggling state, or, I'm in a state that I'm not in my peak state. I'm not in my optimal state. I'm not in a flow state. I'm not in a loving, joyful gratitude state. Mm-hmm. I'm in a, pissed off, angry, frustrated, whatever state. And from that state, you're going to make wrong decisions. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I put into action certain, I make sure that I question my assumptions through the circle of people that I have around me. Right. And, they get a phone call and go, hey, I'm thinking this, but be aware.
Yeah.
This is where I'm coming from. It's, you're talking to, asshole Dwayne right now, like, or angry Dwayne, or whatever the word might be. And so I do that. I'm just curious, based on your journey, based on your experience, especially I'm interested from a female and feminine energy standpoint, for those who aren't aware. I believe that everybody should make the assumption that, like, they're flawed in some way. They're thinking, or could be flawed in some way. Right. But what would you say to people about how they could increase their awareness or start to identify that there may be some gaps in their thinking?
Start asking yourself if you're happy. Let's start there. Am I happy with where my life is right now? Am I happy with my relationships? All relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, relationship with yourself. It's a huge one. Just start there and just start asking yourself questions like, do I like what I do day to day? Does this actually make me feel good? And that doesn't mean that you can't have off days and shitty days. And like yesterday, I was well at my capacity and I knew where I was at. I was like, oh boy. But just asking those simple questions. And am I happy with the direction that my life is going? Am I even making conscious choices of where my life is going? Like, how did I get here? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I got to that point at some point in my life where I was like, how did I get here? Like, why am I working in a bar? Why am I working in this gym? I want to work for myself. How did I get here? Why am I letting the universe decide what is happening in my life right now? I don't want this. I want to decide what it is. So I think just simply asking yourself if you're satisfied with where you're at. And I think there's a level of like dissatisfaction that's healthy, where it's like, okay, like we go to the gym and we have goals and we change the goals at the gym all the time because it's like, okay, well, I'm satisfied with this now, but I feel like I'm not satisfied with that. And that's okay. I think there's like, that's healthy. There's parts of my business that I love and that I thrive with. There's other parts that I'm not satisfied with. And I think there's something healthy about that. But I think overall it's like, okay, am I really enjoying where I'm going right now? And I recently asked this to myself because I've been single for a while now, almost like 2 years. And it's been one of the longer stints that I've been on my own. And at first I could feel myself wanting like attention from someone. And I wanted that connection. It's really just connection. We all just want connection, right? But then I really had to ask myself, I was like, oh, okay. Are you fully like really connected with yourself? Like, when was the last time you checked your relationship with you? And maybe you're single right now for a reason, because this is actually the time for you to connect with yourself so you can better connect with someone else when you understand yourself better. So I was asking myself even those small things, right? Recognizing when you're like, when am I looking for something external and why am I looking for that? And then let's bring it back to like, okay, that's a part of myself that I'm not happy with right now. Okay, how can I work on that? So.
I mean, that's like an unbelievably high level of thinking. And I'm going to bet, based on our conversation and the story of your life, you didn't think that way a decade
Absolutely
ago.
Absolutely not.
Right. So I feel like the audience, there's going to be people who listen to this go, where does this girl get this shit from? Like, where does she get this? Like, so, and the one piece around this to me is, if you want a quality life, you have to examine the questions that you ask yourself on a continual basis. Ask yourself, you're always asking yourself questions constantly. So you have to manage the questions so you're not asking like disempowering questions, from a subconscious state. You're asking yourself empowering questions from a conscious state. But where did you learn this from? Like, what was the process?
I mean, life, number one, and like how I got here, number one, I feel like.
Yeah, but, I feel like you're really underscoring.
No, I'm just saying like life itself has taught me so much, right? I'm saying, yes. Okay, let me rephrase this. What has happened in my life, right? Like me now assessing what has happened and why it's happened, that has been a big one. The people that I go to for guidance and wisdom and inspiration, truthfully, that's where they are massive teachers in my life. Any course that I've taken, that person, whoever teaches that course, like there's a reason I've been drawn to you, and there's like, I want your knowledge, right? So I think it's constantly being humble and being like, I have so much to learn. So for me, it's like podcast, it's reading, it's medicine, which is really just a conversation with yourself about the shit you're not seeing. It's mirror work, right? And it's the shadow work. So that's been huge. The people that guide me and facilitate me through medicine, because I feel like they're more in the spiritual space than I am. So I'm like, sweet, give me some of your juice here. I want to learn from this. My parents, because they've triggered me so much. And because they trigger me so much, I'm like, that's what I need to work on. Those are the questions I need to ask. I'm like, okay, why is that bothering me? Where else? I mean, breathwork. And just honestly, I'm so curious. I don't know when this happened, but I just became this like dry sponge that just wanted to absorb so much knowledge a few years ago. And I'm just like constantly like, it's almost like I can't stop it. I think we've talked about this before. I'm like, it's constantly going through my head. It's almost like it's harder to turn off than to turn on. All the questions of like just awareness. And like, I notice it turns off when I really just let myself like, okay, I'm just going to go chill and have dinner with my friends. And that's really when I usually just kind of like tune out. But it's just, I don't know. It's just constant. I think also because I have like such faith that life is always trying to teach me something, that I'm always looking for what is out there that it's trying to teach me right now. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to networking, because I'm like, sweet, like what do these people have? And even if they're in a completely different profession that I have no idea about, sweet, there's obviously something that got you there. Why do you love it? Like, teach me. Like, I love connection. I think that's it. I just love connection. And the more I understand, the more I know about the world, the more I feel connected to other people, to life itself, to trust. Trust is huge. I'm just like learning to just have so much faith and trust that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, instead of stopping myself from controlling everything. That's like huge, huge. And I think like a big one for me is this, I had this huge fear of like death happening around me. Obviously, I've lost so many people. And now finally, after like 2 years of being in medicine, I'm just like, holy shit. Like, this is happening because we need you to do what you're doing right now, to live in this space of energy and helping people empower themselves to heal themselves. And that's why this keeps happening, because like we need you to shift this for other people. So we're going to make it so goddamn obvious in your life, and we're going to bring it out so much, and we're going to give you so much practice, because that's what we need from you. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to do. And will there be more things added to it and more services I can offer? Of course, because I'm going to continue to learn and grow. But there's like no doubt of that in my mind.
It's interesting when you were saying that. I mean, that's an unbelievably powerful and empowering story. And so many people who have had the kind of death that has happened around them, like around you, many would create a completely different story. And I'm curious if, outside of, and how big, because you mentioned medicine again, how important was that to the process? But then how, outside of the medicine, what were the other pieces that you start to put together? Because I'm a huge believer that, like, an event occurs and we attach a meaning. You attach enough meanings, you're going to create a story. Right. And the story is where you live. Like that's what creates emotion, and that's where you live. Mm-hmm. And so you've obviously, and whether that, I'm a big believer in, and I don't know if you've ever read the book Surrender Experiment.
I have not, no.
Because I think I asked you that before once in our other conversations. But it's like, it's almost, you realize like, it doesn't matter what the story is. Like, it does matter what the story is, but it doesn't matter if it's true or not. Right. As long as you create one that's empowering and going to move you forward, like it's, because in your situation, somebody could come up with an exact opposite story, have a completely opposite life to you in regards to their level of joy, gratitude, faith, trust, and all those kinds of things. And who's the one that's suffering? So I'm just curious, outside of outside of medicine, because we've already talked about it, was there any pieces that, you really kind of worked on to create a story consciously about it?
It's a good question. I feel like just myself and what I've wanted. Like just focusing on like, who do I want to be, and let that person start to create the life that they want and stay true to this person. Like that was a big piece, and find your truth. And by finding my truth, it's been finding the people that inspire me, that help me look at what I'm not seeing, and the people that I can trust that are going to help bring that light out in me. They say that the light in other people will start to emanate the light in you. So I'm like, okay, I'm being drawn to something. Why am I being drawn to it? I don't know, but I'm just moving towards it. So that's kind of, I feel like, what I started doing, because again, I mentioned before, I had so much fear of judgment. And then I started to notice, okay, I'm being really drawn to this person. And I feel like, and it happened with breathwork, where I'm like, okay, I'm really drawn to Stephen Jaggers, and I'm drawn to this process for some reason. And everybody was like, do you really need another course? So do you really need to do that? Like, I have so many courses under my belt, and like, I'm just like, probably not, but like, I don't know, man, something's telling me to go to this person. So I'm going to go do it. And I do it. And it was life-changing. And the same thing just happened with spinal energetics. I was like, do I need another course? Do I need another modality? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to do it. And I did. And then when I felt what I felt in that process of learning that, it was like, holy shit, this is a real thing. There is so much happening in like the world. Like there is like a metaphysical world. It is like, it's a real thing. And I'm like, okay, there's shit that can go down here. Like, and I want to be doing it, and I want to be about it.
Yeah. Like spinal energy stuff. Like when you watch somebody's spine move without it being touched, and like it's insane. Like literally, I've seen, we know I know some of the same people that that this course came from, but where, like I've seen like the spine almost like move like a snake, and you're like, what the hell was that? Like, and nobody's touching the person. Yeah. I mean, it makes you really question, what the body is really made of, and what it can really do, and how powerful energy is. It's remarkable.
So I think that's one of the pieces, is just like following what is right for you. Because honestly, I asked a bunch of people's opinions. I don't know why, but I just did. I was like, should I take this course? Like, do you think I should do it? This is how much it costs. This is how long it is. And, I got a lot of mixed reviews, but I was like, and then I remember getting to the course, and she even brought that up, and she was just like, that's a part of a process. That's a part of judgment. That's a part of this and that coming out in you. Right. But it's like, I think that's a huge piece, is like, just trust it. And also like a huge piece for me is like just spending money to invest in myself. It's so easy for people to buy things that make them look cool to everybody else. I've invested so much money in myself and not done those things. Now, do I think that traveling and exploring the world, because you explore yourself through exploring the world, is part of that? Yes, I do believe that, because it's an experience. Right? 100%. This purse is not an experience. It really isn't for me. Like, yeah, it looks cool, whatever, but it's not an experience, right? There's so much more. It's like, if I can embed this into my body and this can give me wisdom, that to me. So those are like the pieces for me. Anything that aligns with that. And maybe that's like, going to a new gym and becoming stronger and learning something different. Maybe that means just reading more books and learning more about this or that. And maybe it's connecting with this and that person, like whatever that is. It's like, I think everything is a tool, right? Plant medicine is just a tool, but other people are out there as tools and facilitators and practitioners and therapists and all these other things to help us just learn more about ourselves. So those are the pieces that I really utilize to help myself grow. And that's the long-winded answer to how I feel like I've gained all of this.
That's awesome. It's so good. I'm curious. We're 2 hours in, but, and it feels like 15 minutes, but I'm curious, would you be open to me, just probing a little bit about your business?
Sure, of course.
And you had made a comment, and I circled it. So, which when I circle in my notes, I
This
like
is
to
important.
not I don't like to let it go by. But you talked about, what you do, like the fascial stretching, and the shift. I'm actually using my words, but the shift towards energy work, and there felt like a bit of I don't want to use the word confidence, but there felt like a bit of I will use the word, I guess, a confidence, or a scarcity would be a totally over, like too big of a word. Right. In your strategy of developing your business towards moving towards energy work, which clearly is where your heart and your joy and your value is. I guess I need to confirm that first.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Good observation.
I just wanted to, after 2 hours, I should have figured that out.
No, you're right.
But I'm curious, where's the blockage, or where's the fear for you in that?
For sure, there's a fear of judgment there. What are people going to say and think when this is how I operate my business and what I deliver? And that's honestly that's just a trigger in them, and I need to get over that to myself. That's a hump that I'm working through. So part of it is that. Part of it is also, how can I see more than one person at a time? How can I create more impact? So I wouldn't say that's a blockage as much as it's like a questioning, or still like a confusion as to how do I really evolve this? So there's a little bit of a blockage in the delivery. How can I deliver this without coming across as a witch or woo-woo? Because that's what a lot of people...
Yeah, I don't like the word witch, because you're like more like, it's more like angel work.
Well, thank you.
A witch.
But listen, the moment you take something that you can't like tangibly show somebody without them feeling it, it makes them question things, right? And a lot of people aren't ready to question that part of reality sometimes, or it's just not part of their belief system, and that's fine. There's no judgment. That's just a discernment, and that's okay. A lot of my friends don't come to me for work, and that's fine, because they don't believe in what I do, but they support what I do, and they're super proud of me, and I love that, right? Yeah. So right now, I think the biggest thing is that judgment piece. Like, how do I deliver this in a way that is digestible for everybody without them thinking I'm absolutely crazy? But a lot of that is me. And this just goes to show how much you are a reflection of your business. And that part of my business is not nearly as evolved as the stretching part of my business, right? Like stretching is probably 90% of what I do right now. And then breathwork and spinal is another 10, maybe, give or take something in that department. And I would love for it to almost like flip-flop. But that's going to take some time, and also some evolution and some confidence in myself. But there's definitely a bit of a block in that kind of way that I'm thinking. And I also want to be able to scale and grow. And so the question becomes, how do I scale and grow and deliver the same experience? Because I do want to maintain the integrity of what I do. I think that's so important. It's kind of like medicine. I've gone into ceremonies when there's 2 or 3 people there. I've gone into some where there's like 20 people there. And I've seen, like, I've had a very scary experience with the 20 people. And I think the integrity of the ceremony was not kept. I'm not saying that every 20-person ceremony is like that. Absolutely. You can maintain the integrity, but it just wasn't in that moment. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I want to maintain the integrity of this work. So many times I see this with different practitioners, and again, no judgment, but like, I've just, from a discernment point, I've seen, I'm not going to label what they are, but I've seen like different practitioners have like 3, 4, 5 rooms going, or they've got other people taking care of you. And like, there's just these machines and stuff that they're putting on you, and they're not actually doing the work. And then people are like, oh, okay, well, I came in to see that person and I'm not even seeing them. Or I saw them for 2 seconds. Like, I want to make sure that I'm still giving everybody the experience that I want them to feel from me. I think that's very important. So it's like, I want to grow and I want to scale. And it's not because I want to make more money. I know that's a byproduct. It's because I want to create more impact. So the question becomes, how do we do that? Because I think I just have an extremely unique business. And that's really where a little bit of the struggle is. Yes, I can raise my price to a certain point, but then it's also like, well, there's people that don't.
No, you
Exactly. And you know what? We all have healing to do, and I want people to have access. So how do I go about this? So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's a tough, I mean, you know, it's an interesting, I mean, I think you've really kind of honed in on the core pieces that a lot of business owners, you know, have to ask themselves on a continual basis about, you know, and we talked about it actually again with Dr. Tim Reynolds. We talked about, you know, if you own a painting business and you are the trusted painter, and I refer to it as the artist leader, right? So the artist leader is the one that shows up and they have this unique skill set. Well, it doesn't matter what it is. You could be a builder, you could be, you know, somebody who you know, does breath work and what you do, or painter or whatever. It is, you know, you show up and you have a specific art. It's like, you know, the guy who finished our house, you know, he's an artist. Like, I mean, when you walk around our house and you look at the work that they did here, it's like, this guy is a true artist. I think that you know, that is the question, is like, well, how do I deliver in a way that still holds what I want to provide at a level of integrity that I want to provide it in, and scale and grow my business so that, you know, I can also have and there's a couple, I think, different strategies, and I'd be happy to work with you on them. You know, in regards to that, I do think part of it is a bit mindset, right?
100%.
Like, because, you know, I surmise that, you know, when Tony was doing one-on-one coaching work 40 years ago, he had to cross this, you know, this dilemma himself. Of course. Where it's, and that is part of the problem, is we put ourselves in this dilemma state where it's like, well, I want to do this, but I want to hold the integrity. So it's I either do this or I do that. And then that's a dilemma state, you know, which is the worst place to be in, because you can't win. You know, from a mental standpoint, like, you have this push pull, like, well, I either have to do this or I have to do that. It's like, you know, it's like hanging two of your kids over top of a cliff. It's like, well, which one do you want us to let go of, the redhead or the blonde? It's like,
there's no winning.
Yeah. That question. You can't win. You can't win. Unless the redhead's really, really a pain in the ass. So I think, you know, one of the pieces is, you know, we need to get you out of the dilemma state and into more optionality. You know, what are 3 and 4 or 5 different options at different, you know, maybe it's different pay scales, maybe, or, you know, where, you know, if they want one-on-one with you, it's like, you know, this is going to be, this is what it's going to cost. And if you want to be in a group, or if you want to be, I'm not saying you do it virtual, I'm just making stuff up. But the point is that so often we put ourselves in these dilemma states where we have to either choose, should I do this or should I do that? And in business, that can be the kiss of death. Yeah, 100%. And mentally, it's the kiss of death, right? It's like, it's, you know, from a mindset standpoint, you know, you feel like you can't choose the right one. Right. So that I would say, like, you know, that'd be one of my pieces of advice, is as you're looking at this, and as you're amazing at asking yourself questions. So you don't need coaching there, that's for sure. But being able to get yourself into a place where you have optionality versus dilemma. One choice is no choice. Two choices is dilemma. Three or more gives you options. Right. And so that, that would be one of the places that, maybe we can go obviously offline. But for those people who are listening, I think that is like, if you're in this situation, you need to come up with some options. You need to come up with some options that provide you, alternatives to whether it's pricing structure, whether it's service, whether it's, product availability, whatever it is in your business that's plaguing you. Optionality is kind of critical.
I've gotten into really thinking about my business and what I offer as more of experiences rather than services. So, there's this experience, one-on-one. There's group experience for this or that. I have a retreat business that I run with 2 girls. That's phenomenal because I think that when you can really immerse yourself in a day, like Tony Robbins even says this himself, he's like, there's actually something that's changing like in your brain, like you are being completely rewired when you are submerged into a space where like it's the field of energy. Everyone is there for that growth and transformation, right? That's so powerful. So I love having that as an option. But now I'm starting to think more along the lines of like an experience. So when people come to me, it's not just like an hour, it's more of an experience. You're spending a couple hours with me and we're going to be doing some stuff. And I don't know yet what that's going to take. Whether it is the breath work or the spinal or a combination of 2 or 3 services, I don't know. But whatever it is, it's like your body is going to decide what it needs. We're going to decide what it needs, and that's where we're going to go. Right? So having a little bit more of like that. And then obviously having group as an option as well. I think the power in healing as a collective is insane. You've seen it with Tony for sure, right? The power of people. I always like to explain this when people ask me, you guys asked me this today, the one-on-one breath work versus the group. There is so much healing in that group session. Like it is so incredibly powerful what comes from that. Even with spinal, like when you're working with the field of energy of everybody in the room, it's a completely different experience. So being able to cultivate that collective healing in a space is definitely kind of how I want to like approach things. And I explain this to people in the sense of like, okay, you have a really good sound system on your TV and you're watching a concert, it's your favorite artist. Yeah, that's a cool experience. But what does it feel like when you're actually in the concert? It is completely different. So I think right now it's like, how do we get out of the headspace of having to be a service provider and get more into the headspace of cultivating experiences that are going to penetrate somebody so much deeper than just coming for 1 hour.
I love the thinking on that. I think it's brilliant. I also think, one of the things I would add is like, there's some value to be, thrown in regards to creating a marketing machine. And I found that so many people who are in the experience business that like they weigh so much on the experience, they get worried about creating this massive marketing machine because then they can't meet the experience. And so then again, they get into this kind of situation where they're like, oh, man, like I want to grow this thing, but if I crank it up, I may not be able to provide the same experience. And so that's, there's an upside and there's a downside to everything. The question is what's the upside? What's the downside? And can you live with the downside? And I think, being very clear about what your goals are in the business and where you want to take them, like where you really want to take it, not just like what everything you've done in your life, right? It's like, you had a vision. It's like, well, I'll do, I don't know what my purpose is, but I'm going to deliver something important to the world. And then just kind of moving forward with that. Right.
I think another part of or layer with this business growth for everybody, like we said before, you are a reflection of your business. And I think when you want to get to that next level and scale to that next layer and grow, there's part of you that's going to have to die. And that is scary. And I know for me right now, there's a part of me that's going to have to, I'm not going to be seen as like, Soph, the person that just stretches. When I step way more into spinal, it's like, oh, wow, you're not just a body worker now, you're getting into this stuff. And I know that that's like part of it. And I know that part of the stretching, journey of mine is going to die as I step into more of the energetic work. And like, that's sad. And I know that.
What if it didn't have to die? So if what if it evolved? What if it was a caterpillar rather than, I don't know what dies, but what if it evolved?
Right.
And that you could grow it in a different way, so that it just, essentially it evolved. Right. I made a mistake. I made a mistake 20 plus years ago. I shouldn't say I made a mistake.
You learned something.
I learned something. Yeah, it was absolutely not a mistake, actually. Bad choice of words. But I when I got divorced and my son was like 1 or 2, and I had a pretty significant size business. And I had to decide, am I going to, be the richest guy in the grave, or am I going to be a fantastic father? So I chose the quest to be a fantastic father.
Beautiful.
I'm probably not a fantastic father.
I believe you are.
That was my quest. Okay. And so I sold a big chunk of my business because I looked at things as either or. I either do this or I do that, versus I do this and that. And so, there's some things here. I'm giving some base context for the listener, but I'm happy to work with you a little bit on walking through some of these processes about, again, it goes back to, I think, a little bit of optionality. But and I think it goes through to one of the things to avoid is that my mentor, had told me this once, and so this is not Dwayne original stuff here, is that, once you have made a decision, you spend your time defending. Once you've made the decision to, okay, I'm going to do this and this is the path I'm going to take, you spend all of your time defending that decision. Whether it's in your brain, subconsciously, consciously, with other people in conversation. Yeah, but, this is the way nobody's ever done it. Whatever the story is, that's what we end up doing. And so, that would be just be very careful about going, does it have to be this way? What are the other options? Who else could I talk to? Who else is in a similar business that's done something like this that I could model? I'm a big fan of modeling. Right. And like anything, and we've talked about this, but we're sitting in the seat, and right now you're sitting in the seat, and your next evolution is, how does Sophia evolve? Like, you've come so far in this, beautiful, I'll call it beautiful state that you present and represent and are. You're not presenting it, you're living it, like you are it. And it's like, how does she show up as this now, if that's the goal, but I think that lends to the clarity of what is it that you exactly want to be as a business person, and that you can have different hats, right? I can be a business person. I can be a practitioner. I can be a parent. I can be a wife. I can be, and you're always putting on, those different hats, and they carry different kind of roles and identities. And so it's just something to reflect on.
Right.
Not for you. Not for you, for everybody here listening.
And to be fair, I think that's where also, like, being in I don't want to say solitude, but like being on my own and in my business, like not having a partner where I have to base a lot of my decisions on somebody else, right? I can, could I move across the world and start working with a professional team right now? Yeah, I definitely could, right? That, like, I have that flexibility. So I'm lucky to be in the place that I'm at. So, I mean, it's like endless possibilities at this point, endless opportunities to create something, right? I don't have the kids. I don't have like all of these things that are all the baggage right now. No, that's just, that's where I'm at right now. But I mean, if you are there, that's okay. Just honoring where you're at and what is possible for you within that capacity that you have.
I love that. I love that as a statement in general that, what can you achieve within the capacity that you have right now? And you represent, like, how do you grow that capacity over time? I'll tell you, brilliant stuff. Like, you're really, an amazing conversation. I think that you truly do represent, you're like, a shining star for any young woman, well, any woman at any level, any man too. But I mean, it really is, it's beautiful to see the growth, the thinking, what you've overcome, your story, what you're doing and how you're delivering it, and the experience and the impact that you're making. Like, you're the real deal. Like, you really are.
Thank you for those kind words.
And yeah, so thank you for coming here. Is there anything, how would people find you, by the way?
There's a few ways, like Instagram, of course. I have a few different pages at Sophia Plank, at Stretching with Soph, and then Boss Retreats is at boss.retreats.ca. And my website, which will lead you to absolutely everything, is breathandbodybliss.com.
Breathandbodybliss.com.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything that's on your mind at the end of this conversation that you would, love to add or throw out there to the listeners?
Just to continue to follow your heart and what it is that's true to you, and stay true to that, because then you're just living authentically, and that helps keep you in alignment with what it is that you want out of this lifetime.
And not to extend the podcast, but I mean, I seem to like, come up with a question from everything I friggin' hear, but when you say coming from your heart, what if somebody doesn't know? What if they go like, well, I don't know what's in my heart. Like, I don't know what my purpose is, or I don't know what my passion is, or I don't know what my heart is telling me. I'm confused. What then?
What brings you joy? What do you want just in this moment? Stop thinking about what do I want overall? What do you just want in this moment? That's going to continue to make the next moment beautiful. That's what I think. Like, just live in the moment, and what is that? What's in that moment right now for you? And just continue to ask questions. I think that's the biggest one. If you don't know, just keep asking. Eventually you're going to know, but also in the question, be aware of what the universe is showing you, because the answers are there. You're just probably choosing not to look or choosing not to listen, because maybe the answer is not what you want to hear, because it brings pain. Let's use a relationship, for example, right? Am I happy, or what is in my heart? And it's like, well, maybe something's telling you that maybe I'm not with the right person, and maybe that's not allowing me to live in alignment with myself. But a lot of people are just like, nope, I'm going to ignore that. And that can go for so many things. It can go for your job. It can go for friendships. It can go for relationships with other people. It can go for where you're living right now. Everything. So that's why I'm saying, like, find what brings you joy in this moment, and create what environments can create more beautiful moments, and strive for finding those. And then you'll figure out where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I love it. If anybody is interested in, I'm going to say this, and maybe I shouldn't say it. It's probably not my place to say it. I'm going to say it anyways. So I don't think you would ever reject anybody if they were like reached out to you just to say, hey,
Never.
I have a question, I'm curious about this, because I want to point out one thing that I think was really, really important in this conversation, which was your ability to be able to face your fears and grow or develop courage to take the next step forward. Maybe not knowing that that was the right step or the perfect step or the exact thing that you should be doing, but you took a step forward and kept moving forward. I sound like Rocky.
Keep stepping.
Keep moving forward. But honestly, like you epitomize that, I think. And from my opinion, and so I'm super proud of you. I'm super honored to be able to call you friend. And I'm also super honored and grateful that I get to be treated by you because it makes me a better person, physically, emotionally, with the breath work and stuff. Like it's every time it's transformative.
Well, thank you for being open to it, open to receiving. That's the beautiful thing. Being open-minded to allow whatever's supposed to come through. And so, yes, anyone that has any questions, needs support, anything like that, my DMs are always open. I'm always available to have those conversations, especially to remind you that you're not alone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to go up and have some dinner with a bunch of friends. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you being here. Like, I know you're busy. And so thank you. God bless you. And God bless the person you are.
Thank you so much for being an inspiration to me and allowing me to be in your energy, because again, it's like, you're drawn to people for a reason, and the conversations and the level of awareness that some people have and allow you to bring more into your life, like that is so precious. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you, dear. Appreciate it.